Bismillah, walhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. Welcome to lesson number 7. In this video, we will do a few more cases of practice so we become more fluent in using the tables and solving these questions using this methodology. Let's begin. The first case is Ahmed, who died in 1985, leaving behind a land property. His inheritance was not distributed till now, and the current worth of the land is now $500,000. We go back to the time of his death and find that the relatives alive at that time were a wife, mother, two daughters, two real brothers, and a real sister. So let's calculate this distribution. We use our template to put in the information of Ahmed, his death, and his distributable wealth. We also put down the relatives alive at the time of his death with their count. Our next step is to go to table 1 and look for all the relatives who are present in table 1 and see if they get a fixed share under that certain condition. Wife will get 1/8 because there are children present, which is the daughter in this case. So we put that for the wife. Mother should get 1/6 because there are children present. And the two daughters, let's find out what they get. So if the daughters, there are 2 or more, and there is no son present, then the daughters would get 2 out of 3. So we put the share for the daughter down. And the next one is real brother. We don't find real brother in this table 1. Next one is real sister. There's only one real sister, so she gets half with the condition if there are no children, father, father's father, or real brother. In this case, this person, Ahmed, has children, so she would not get any share in table 1. He also has a real brother, but any one of this condition would have sufficed. So no share for real sister in table 1. The LCM of 6, 8, and 3 is 24. In this way, 1 over 8 will become 3 over 24, 1 over 6 will become 4 over 24, and 2 over 3 will become 16 out of 24. Let's see how many shares we have distributed so far. 16 plus 4 plus 3 is 23. We still have one more share to distribute, so we'll have to go to table 2 and find out who gets this. We move from left to right. We don't find son, son, sons, son, 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 father, father's father, but we do find a real brother. And remember, real brother is among those 5 relatives in which there is male to female ratio of 2:1 in distribution. So whatever the real brother is getting, real sister will also get a share from it in that ratio. So we give that 1 share to real brother and put a dot on real sister to identify that she also has a share in this 1. Now our next step is to figure out in how many parts do we need to divide these shares. The 16 can easily be divided by 2 in a whole number of 8, so we don't worry about this. But this 1 has to be divided into multiple parts that goes to the brothers and the sisters. In this case, where there is 2:1 distribution, let's multiply the number of males by 2 and then add it to the number of females. So by doing that, we get 2 multiplied by 2 is 4, and there is only 1 female, so 5 total shares. So this 1 has to be divided into 5 shares and then distributed among these relatives. Instead of dividing this into 5 and making it a decimal, we multiply the whole column by 5 and use 5 as our multiplier. By doing so, we get 15, 20, 80, 5, and 24 will become 120. Now, share of each person, we can easily give the wife 15, mother 20, each daughter will get 40. This 5 has to be divided into 5 parts, so value of each share will be 1, and each male, which is the brother in this case, will get 2 shares, brothers will get 2, and sister will get 1. And in the final step, we do our calculations, which is 15 divided by 120 multiplied by $500,000, which will give us $62,500, and so on and so forth. We do our calculations for the rest of the column. This way we have completed our case. Let's move on to the next one. Over here, Abbas died on December 31st, 2018, and the estimate of his total wealth is not done as yet, but the family would like to know in what percentage would the relatives get their share. He leaves behind 2 wives, mother, father, 1 son, 3 daughters, and 1 real sister. So we begin with our template, putting this information in, And as you can see in the distributable wealth, I have put down 100% because we don't know the actual value as yet. We then go to table 1 and start looking for shares of people over here. For the wife, since there are son and daughter present, there are children present, the wife will get 1/8. Even if there are two wives, they will share the total of 1/8. Mother will get 1/6 because there are children present, and father will get 1/6 as well because there are children present. So let's put those numbers down. We don't find a son in table 1. We do find daughters in table 1, but the daughter has a condition that these are 2 or more daughters, and they get share in table 1 only when their son is not alive. Otherwise, their share will come in table 2, which we will see in a moment. Then we go to real sisters, who would not get share over here because there are children present and there's also a father present. Any one of this could have sufficed. So our LCM for 8, 6, and 6 will be 24. 1/8 will turn into 3/24, and 1/6 will become 4/24. We have distributed 11 shares, 3 plus 4 plus 4, and we have 13 more to go. So let's go to table 2 and see who gets the next 13. We move from left to right, and first column we see is son and daughter combination. So the son will get the rest of the 13, and within that share is the share of daughters as well, because this is the case of add-on. We put that in and we put a dot on daughter's share to identify that her share is within the share above. Now the next step we have to see in how many shares do we need to divide these numbers. So 3 needs to be divided into 2 wives. This is 1, and this 13 has to be divided into multiple parts as well because there is 1 son and 2 daughters. So to figure out how many parts we need to divide this into, we multiply the number of males by 2 and add it to the number of females because they have a 2:1 distribution. 1 multiplied by 2 is 2, and there are 2 daughters, so we have total 4 shares. So let's multiply this whole column by 4 using 4 as a multiplier, and let's see what we get. We get 3 will become 12, 16, 16, and 13 will become 52, with the total shares being 96 now. The value of each share over here is 13, because if we divide this into 4 parts, each share will become 13. The son will get 2 parts, which will be 26, and each daughter will get 1 part, which will be 13. And the share of wives, 12, will be divided into 2 parts. Each wife will get 6. Let's put these numbers down. Each wife gets 6, mother gets 16, father gets 16, son gets 26, and each daughter will get 13 from a total of 96 shares. And the rest is just calculation of the percentage, 6 divided by 96 into 100, and so on and so forth. This way we have completed our case. Let's move on to the next one. Qasim died on December 14, 2017. He left behind a total property worth of $120,000. He made a bequest, a will, to give $50,000 in charity. At the time of his death, these are the relatives who were alive: father, wife, 1 daughter, 2 sons' daughter, 2 daughters' son, and 3 real brothers. So we need to calculate the shares of each share after setting aside the permissible amount of will or bequest. As we remember, the maximum permitted amount to will or to bequest is 1/3 of the property. So he made a will of giving $50,000 in charity, but that would exceed the maximum 1/3. His total wealth is $120,000. 1/3 of this would be $40,000. So we will give 40 in charity and keep the rest for distribution among heirs. We put the information in our template, and our distributable wealth now has turned into $80,000. We go to table 1 and start finding these relatives. Wife will get a share of 1/8 because there are children present. There is a daughter, there is son's daughter, and both of them classify as children. So wife gets 1/8, father gets 1/6 because there are children present. And then for the share of daughter, there's only 1 and there's no son present, so she would get 1/2. Now son's daughter, SD, is present in table 1. Let's look at her conditions. If these are 2 or more, which is true in this case, but the condition is there is no son, daughter, or son. We have a daughter here, so this condition does not apply. Second condition does not apply because the total number of SDs is more than 1. The last condition is if there is one daughter only, there is no son, and there is no son, then the son's daughter, SD, will get 1/6 of share. So this is the condition that meets our case. We have one daughter, we have no son and no son, so the son's daughter will get 1/6, and we assign her that. Daughter's son does not get share in table 1 or in the asba either, because this is among the Zibul Arham, the third tier relatives. Real brothers are present in table 2 but not in table 1, so we won't give them any share over here. Our LCM of 8, 6, 2, and 6 is 24. 1 over 8 will become 3 over 24, 1/6 will become 4 over 24, and 1/2 will become 12 out of 24. So let's see how many parts we have distributed. 4 plus 12 plus 4 is 20, and 3, so 23. We still have one more part to give. Let's go to table 2 and see who gets that part. We move from left to right, and we do not find son, but we find father. So that one remaining part will go back to the father again, because father initially got a share as Zibul Furud, and now he's going to get share as Asba. So 4 will turn into 5, and now we have our distribution: 3, 5, 12, and 4. We have 2 sons daughter, and 4 can easily be divided into 2 parts, so we don't have to use a multiplier here. Share of each person will be 3, 5, 12, 2, and 24, and the last column is our calculations for the total wealth: 3 divided by 24 into 80,000, and so on and so forth. Let's move on to the next case. Hafsa died on November 20th, 2018. She left multiple things in her wealth, and the total worth of her miras is $85,000. Her friend owes her a loan of $15,000, which she plans to return to the family now. Hafsa had also made a bequest to give $10,000 to her mother-in-law as a will. So at the time of her death, the following relatives were alive: daughter, mother's mother, father's mother, 2 real sisters, and mother's brother. Let's calculate her shares, but first we need to figure out what's the distributable wealth. She had a total wealth of $85,000 that is available right now. She's expecting to get a return from her loan that she had given to her friend of $15,000, and then she had made a will or a bequest of $10,000. So 85 plus 15 is 100, minus 10 is 90, so we have $90,000 to distribute. We put this information in our template with a distributable wealth of $90,000 and the list of relatives over here. Then we go to table 1. Table 1 shows that the daughter is 1 in number and there is no son present, so she gets half. Let's give her that. The next one is interesting, and I want you to pay attention over here. It says mother's mother. So mother's mother is MM, which we find all the way down here in row number 10. And see, this is very interesting that we don't see a line between this box. This is not a mistake. This is deliberate. So what this tells us is that mother's mother will get 1/6, but if it's father's mother and mother's mother and they both are eligible based on their condition, then they both will share the 1/6. So if father's mother was alone, she would have gotten 1/6. If mother's mother was alone and meeting the condition, she would have gotten 1/6. But if they both are present, then they share the 1/6. So we write 1/6 from mother's mother because she meets the condition, there is no mother present, and father's mother also meets the condition because there is no mother present and no father present either. So they get 1/6, but father's mother, we put a dot in her place to identify that she also has a share, equal share from this 1/6. Another way to symbolize this on your table could be that you can put a bracket or a parenthesis like this to identify that this share is actually share of both of these. Then we go to real sisters and we find two real sisters. So real sisters are S. They are two or more in number, but they only get a share in table 1 if there is no children, father, father's father, or real brother. We have a daughter in this case, so that suffices the definition of children. Real sister does not get anything. Mother's brother is not present in this table and is not part of Asba either. He's the part of third tier of relatives, which is the Zibul Furuz, so no share for him. Our LCM is 6. 1/2 will turn into 3/6, and 1/6 will remain 1. So we have 2 more parts to give. Let's go to table 2 and figure out. We move from left to right, and while doing so, we don't see anyone in the list until we go all the way to real sister. That's interesting. So this is a point to note that among these Asba relatives, all of them are men. You can see that. Of course, there is an add-on for female relatives in some cases, in 5 of the cases, but all of them are males except for real sister and paternal sister, because they also classify as Asba as per Rasulullah and how he has distributed shares in these scenarios. So the remaining property, the remaining 2 shares will go to the real sister, which is 2 in number, and then we move on to our next calculations. We use 2 as a multiplier because we need to divide this 1 into 2 parts among mother's mother and father's mother, and then we move on. We get 6, 2, 4 out of total of 12. The share of each person will be 6. Mother's mother will get 1, father's mother will get 1, and each sister will get 2. In the last column, we do our calculations and find out the actual value of their shares. In this way, we have solved the case. Let's move on to the next one. In this case, Ali died on January 1st, 2019. He left behind a property worth of $40,000. At the time of his death, the following relatives were alive. So this is a case in which we will use table 3. It's wife, 2 daughters, father's real brothers, son, father's paternal brothers, son, real brothers, son. Let's calculate their shares. We put this information in our template, and then we go to table 1. Let's see, the share of wife will be 1/8 because there are 2 daughters present, which means that there are children present. The share of daughters, since there are 2 in number and there is no son present, will be 2/3. We put that in. And then the other relatives, we don't find them in table 1. The LCM of 8 and 3 will be 24, and 1/8 will turn into 3/24, and 2/3 will become 16/24. So we have distributed 19 shares out of the 24, and we have 5 more to give. Let's go to table 2 and see who we have. So in table 2, we start moving from left to right. We do not find son, fathers, father, real brother, real sister, paternal brother, paternal sister, until we reach this column of 23, column number 23, which is the extended Asba, the extended male relatives who are now eligible for the share. And if you remember, for this, we need to go to table 3 to figure out who among the multiple relatives that we have alive is the closest one. Now, if someone only had 1, they would have just given them the share. But since in this case we have 3 potential extended Aspa relatives, we need to figure out who's the closest one who will get that 5 shares. Let's go to table 3 to see who among these 3 potential extended Aspa relatives is the closest one. So first one is father's real brother, son. Looking at table 3, this black box is the deceased, the dying person. We go to father to move to the left for the real brother side, and then the son will be 35 and son will be 37. So father, real brother, son, and his number is 37. We put that over here. The next one is father's father, paternal brother's son. So let's walk through this again. Father's father, paternal brother's son, which is 46. We put that in. And the last one is real brother's son. So deceased, real brother, son, and his number is 29. So in this way, by looking at this table, we have identified who among these potential extended asba male relatives was the closest one to the dying person. And the closest one will get all the remaining shares, which is 5, and the rest do not get anything. Next, we need to see in how many parts are we going to be dividing these numbers. There's one wife. The 16 for daughters can easily be divided into 2 parts for the 2 daughters. This 5 needs to be divided into 2 parts. So instead of dividing it and making it a decimal, we can just multiply the whole column by 2 and use 2 as a multiplier. By doing so, we get 6, 32, and 10 out of total 48 parts. The share of each person will now be wife will get 6, each daughter will get half of 32, which is 16, and each of the real brother son will get 5 parts. In last column, we calculate share for each individual, and these are our calculations: 8 over 48 into 40,000, 16 over 48 into 40,000, and 5 over 48 into 40,000. This way we are done with this case. Moving on to the last case of this video. Aisha died on March 23rd, 2007. Her property has not yet been distributed, and the worth of the property now is $100,000. At the time of her death, the following relatives were alive: husband, mother, father, father's father, and maternal brother. Let's calculate their shares. We put this information in our template and go to table 1. There's one husband, and there are actually no children. So the husband should get 1/2. We put that number in. There is mother. So mother will get 1/6 if there are children present, or if there are ikhwa present. And just to remind you again, ikhwa was if there are 2 or more siblings of any kind, any gender, any type. In this case, we only have one maternal brother, so it does not suffice the definition of ikhwa. And the last condition for getting 1/6 would be if the dying woman has a husband and a father. And if they both are present, then also mother gets 1/6, which is what we have in our case. So we give 1/6 to the mother. For father, in table 1, there's only one condition. If the children are present, he gets 1/6. If the children are not present, then we don't give anything to the father in table 1 and wait for table 2. Father's father will get a share if there are children present and there's no father. Both these conditions are not met, so he does not get anything here. And maternal brother, MT, and again, just to remind you, it does not matter if it's a maternal brother or sister because they both get equal share. So we just write MT. If it's 1 in count, he could get 1/6 if there were no children, father or father's father, which does not meet the criteria in this condition. The LCM of half and 1/6 is 6. 1/2 will turn into 3 and 1/6 will remain 1. So we have distributed 4 shares and we have 2 more to go. Let's look at table 2 and move from left to right to figure out who gets the rest of the 2 shares. And we see father in column number 17. So he gets the 2 shares, and this way we have distributed the property. The share of each category will remain the same because they're all 1 in count, same as for each person. And then in the end we calculate our actual values of the property by 3 divided by 6 into $100,000, 1 divided by 6, and then 2 divided by 6, and so on and so forth. This way we have completed all the cases for practice in this video. I recommend you to go back to these cases again and try to solve them yourself, and then look at the video to see if you solve them correctly. And then you have your activities to follow up with to brush your skills and become an expert in solving these cases. Subhanakallahumma bihamdik, nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruk wa natubu ilayk.